They dragged her into the courtyard just before dusk, when the air was heavy with the smell of dust and smoke, and the orange sun cast long shadows that seemed to stretch like claws across the ground. Her wrists were bound, her ankles scraped from being forced to walk barefoot for miles, yet her chin did not bow. Her hair clung to her face, matted from sweat and blood, but her eyes, those eyes, still burned with defiance. She was not just a prisoner, she was a symbol. Everyone in that camp knew who she was, the rebel woman who had led raids in the mountains, who had outsmarted entire units, who had made the mighty commander's forces look like fools more than once. Now she stood in their grasp, and the soldiers were hungry to see her humiliated, broken, reduced to nothing more than an example. The order was simple: strip her, parade her, show the others what happens when anyone dares defy the empire. The crowd jeered, some laughing, others grimacing in pity. They tore away the first layer of her clothing, and she clenched her teeth so hard she thought they might shatter. She refused to give them her tears. Inside, though, her chest throbbed with panic. She remembered her mother's words whispered years ago as she inked the crest onto her daughter's spine: "This mark is not for beauty. It is for truth. One day, when all else is lost, it will speak for you when you cannot." As the fabric slid from her shoulders, gasps rippled through the soldiers. Not because of her vulnerability, not because of the cruelty of the act, but because of what they saw. The tattoos stretched along her back, intricate and unmistakable. A blackened crest with a serpent coiled around a broken sword. The mark of the lost regiment. A symbol no one had seen in years, one many believed had been wiped from history. And then, silence. The commander himself, a man whose presence usually silenced others through fear, now stood motionless. His eyes, cold and sharp as steel, widened in disbelief. For a moment, his mask of authority slipped, revealing something rare: hesitation. He stepped forward slowly, his boots crunching on the gravel, until he stood behind her. His hand, which had never trembled before in front of his men, hovered in the air as if he wanted to reach out and touch the ink but dared not. "Where?" His voice cracked slightly before he steadied it. "Where did you get this?" She said nothing. She stared straight ahead, refusing to give him the satisfaction of an answer. But inside, her heart raced. She had not expected him to recognize it. She had not expected anyone here to. The commander's mind raced. That crest belonged to a woman he had once known, long before he became what he was now. Years ago, when he had been a young officer, unscarred by war, he had trained beside her, fought beside her, even loved her. She had been fierce, untamable, a believer in a cause that the empire eventually crushed. He had watched her fall, or thought he had, when the betrayal came. And now, on the spine of this prisoner, he saw that same mark. Could it be that she was her daughter? The soldiers waited for his command. Why was their iron-hearted leader hesitating? Why was his gaze fixed on a mere tattoo? Whispers began to ripple. He felt their eyes on him, waiting, judging. If he faltered, they would smell weakness. And weakness was fatal in the empire. He turned sharply, his face once again the mask of command. "Cover her," he barked. The men froze. Some protested, confused. But the venom in his tone silenced them. A cloak was thrown over her shoulders, and though her body still shook from humiliation, her mind registered what had just happened. He had spared her. But why? That night, when the camp fell into uneasy sleep, the commander entered her cell. She sat chained to the wall, her body sore, but her spirit unbroken. He dismissed the guards, something unheard of, and stood in the dim torchlight, his face shadowed. For the first time, she saw conflict in his eyes. He was not just a monster in a uniform, he was a man haunted by ghosts. "You carry her mark," he said quietly. She stayed silent. She was everything I could never be. Brave. Unyielding. I loved her once. His voice faltered, then hardened. And I watched her die. Or I thought I did. Now, seeing you, he trailed off, staring at the floor as if wrestling with demons only he could see. Her heart clenched. She wanted to spit in his face, to remind him of the blood on his hands, of the villages burned under his command. But another part of her, a part she hated, wanted to know more. Wanted to understand why this man, feared by thousands, suddenly looked broken in front of her. The days that followed were full of secrets and silent battles. He visited her often, asking questions, speaking of the past in fragments. She, in turn, revealed little, but enough to make him doubt. He began to see her not as an enemy, but as a mirror reflecting what he had lost. And in that reflection, something dangerous stirred, guilt. But danger lurked everywhere. His men began to suspect. One officer, eager for promotion, reported that the commander was showing weakness toward the prisoner. The Empire sent orders, execute her publicly to restore discipline. The commander now faced the hardest decision of his life: obey, and bury his conscience forever, or defy, and risk everything. The night before the execution, he made his choice. He entered her cell one last time, his face grim, his hands steady. "If I do nothing, they will kill you tomorrow," he said. "If I act, they will come for me. For both of us. But I can't. I can't watch another innocent burn in the name of a cause I no longer believe in." She stared at him, searching for lies. And for the first time, she saw none. The escape was bloody. Guards were killed, alarms blared, fire lit up the night sky. He led her through the chaos, fighting not just soldiers but the weight of his own past. When they finally stumbled into the mountains, breathless and battered, the bond between them was no longer just one of chance. It was one of survival, of fragile trust, of something deeper neither could admit yet. In the end, their path was uncertain. He was a traitor now, hunted by the empire he once served. She was still a rebel, scarred but unbroken. But together, they carried something far greater than fear, the memory of what had been lost, and the possibility of what could still be rebuilt. And that tattoo, the mark they once tried to strip away, remained the thread binding their fates. A symbol of betrayal. Of love. Of defiance. Because sometimes, the deepest scars are not those carved into flesh, but those that remain hidden until the right moment forces them into the light.